Hello there, it's Paul Green from the business community. We're doing another one of our regular Spotlight On interviews where we just get to learn a little bit about a business owner and their journey to where they've got to today. So today I'm joined by Dawar Ali from Recruitico. Hi Dawar.
Hi Paul, thanks for having me.
No worries, thanks for coming along. So I'm just going to ask you a few questions just to learn a little bit about your journey. And then you've kindly offered to sort of share some of your knowledge and experience later on in the session for 3 or 4 minutes so we can get access for your brain for that one. So you're originally from Pakistan, I believe, and
Right.
You didn't start off obviously in the outsourcing business. I think you were in the entertainment business, weren't you, when you first started off as a business owner? Do you want to tell people a little bit about that? Oh, first of all, before we start, do you want to introduce yourself and your business? Then we'll get on to the questions.
Okay, yeah, just a quick one then. So I'm Dawar, and the company is called Recruitico. And basically what we do is we provide offshore remote staff. We hire highly skilled people overseas in Pakistan and get them to work remotely for businesses in the UK. Primarily high-skilled staff, so software developers, web developers, designers, and digital marketing professionals. Been doing this for over 3 years now. So yeah, it's going well. That's just a quick introduction.
Okay, so what was your first business in Pakistan then?
Right. Okay, that's interesting. So here's how it started. When I was in the final year of my A-levels in Islamabad in Pakistan, we had something called the student union in our school, and you had different positions, president, vice president, all that. I actually ran for president and I got elected somehow. And one of the roles of the president was to organize lots of school events. So, welcome parties, farewell parties, movie nights, concerts, things like that. And over the course of a year, we organized quite a few events, which included a couple of pretty, big ones at that scale. So, we had the whole school involved and some people from the outside, and we were selling tickets. And I just thought to myself, and obviously that was totally non-commercial. It was, used to collect money, and it was just, it got put towards a part for the school and all that. But I looked at how it worked, and I said, hang on a second, we can make some money from this. And that's how the first business that I started in Islamabad. So right after I finished my levels, I went to my parents and said, I want to take a year off. Now, although a year off is quite a common thing nowadays in the UK, back in Pakistan, taking a year off was pretty much unheard of.
Mm-hmm.
But because the idea was, okay, you go straight from A-levels to uni, and then you graduate and you get a job and you get married, you have kids, you settle down. That's how you do it. And so this whole taking a year off thing just doesn't go right with most parents. But my parents very kindly said, okay, 1 year, you do whatever you want, get it out of your system, and and then you carry on with the plan. So so I started an events management company, production and event management company, and we did pretty much exactly what we did for the school. At a slightly bigger scale, we got some sponsors from local businesses, sponsorships from local businesses, and we put up a few events, including a couple of pretty mid-scale theater plays, which went on for a few days, and we made some money from all of that. So it was all going well, but then the year came to an end. It actually got extended to a bit more than a year because I was planning to come abroad and I had to get sort of my things sorted, the admissions and all of that. And I delayed that process for a bit. So a year became pretty much about 2 years in the end. And then I went back on track to doing my bachelor's and the rest of it. So that's how the first business started.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I was in the events business. But the first proper business that I'm still involved in actually started a few years ago when I was working. So I came here, did my bachelor's, I graduated, I got a job here, and I was working as a as a marketing manager for a local company in Northampton, and but obviously, the plan in my head, I always wanted to work for myself and to have a business, and the job was only a way to gain some experience because I was in a new place, new country, and so what happened was, as the marketing manager over there, we had this project that needed doing, and it was a massive database, about 30,000-40,000 records that needed sorting. It's like a 2-month project, which we didn't have anyone in-house do. I couldn't do it. There's nobody in-house who could do it. So I said, you know what? I can actually get maybe a student in Pakistan to do it, and we'll pay them really well in Pakistan. But if you look at the exchange rate and the living costs, it's going to work out really cost effective over here. And through some contacts, I managed to get a couple of university students in Pakistan who worked on these Excel sheets. They were over the moon because they got this little summer job which was paying them really well, and we got this campaign sorted, all the data for our campaign sorted. So it was a win-win situation. So that idea stuck, and I said, okay, this out of all the things that I could get into, I thought this was something I could focus on, because I'm in a unique position to actually do this, because I'm originally from Pakistan. I understand the culture over there. I understand how to work with people over there. I've lived and worked in the UK for long enough to understand how the culture and business over here works. So I can actually put something together that can be quite beneficial for everyone, and I can actually make it into a valuable business for myself.
So how did you end up in the UK in the first place? You seem to skip from Pakistan, then all of a sudden you're in Northampton. So what was the catalyst or driving force that had you come over to the UK and end up in Northampton?
So in Pakistan, it's a trend to go abroad for your studies, and UK is quite a popular destination. I didn't have a lot of choice after I finished my little venture that I was telling you about in Pakistan. So I had to go abroad for my studies. That's sort of a trend. And the options I had were the US, Canada, or the UK. And because I have some family here in the UK, my parents said, okay, that might be a good option, because they can keep some checks on you.
Yeah.
And plus the UK is closer to Pakistan. It's an 8-hour direct flight as opposed to US or Canada, which are far away. So that was a consideration as well. So that's how I came to the UK. How I came to Northampton, really, I went through somebody who looked at everything, and they suggested a few universities, and I looked at a few of them, and Northampton seemed like a good one. In fact, Northampton, we sent my profile to them, and Northampton actually took into account that I had this little business, and they sort of gave me a little bit of a scholarship for that, because they thought I was entrepreneurial, and I quite appreciated that. And that was the reason, actually, now I recall, I chose Northampton.
Okay, excellent. So I often ask people on these sessions, what's their why? What actually gets you out of bed in the morning? What motivates you to do what you do? What would you say that is for you, Dawar?
I think I can look into this from quite a few different angles, but and maybe it changes, or it may have changed over time. But I think with what I do, what really excites me is many times we manage to solve pretty big problems for small businesses, or we manage to do things for small businesses which were quite difficult through our model and the resources that we can potentially have access to. So so that's what excites me, being able to solve problems which were pretty difficult, but then bringing these resources to the table that enable businesses to solve certain problems. To give you an example, we've got some PHP developers working with some of our clients who are relatively small web design agencies, web development agencies. For them, having full-time or part-time experienced PHP developer who can enable them to make bigger, better things. So from a software point of view, is very difficult because they probably cannot afford that resource here. But we can actually provide that to them, and then being able to do that really drives me. And then on the other hand, with the people who are based overseas, giving them the opportunity that they wouldn't have had, that really drives me. So giving them the opportunity to be able to work with a company that's based in the UK, and then giving the company in the UK a really high skilled person that they won't be able to afford here, and being that solution really drives me. And looking at people's reactions when something we set something up and it works, that really drives me. That's a very good feeling, actually.
And who would be a typical client for you? Who are you looking to sort of like engage and get business from?
So our focus over the past sort of couple of years has very naturally gone towards people who require high skill staff. So we work with lots of digital marketing agencies, people involved in software in different ways, and people who want some sort of a tech solution. So people who want some kind of a software or software design or making. So mainly design and digital marketing agencies and people involved in tech who require high skilled staff, or tend to be our ideal clients.
Okay, so I guess it's relatively unique what you're doing. Certainly in the local area, I don't think there's anybody offering anything similar. So what would you say actually does make you different from your competitors? If you see competitors out there, I'm not sure who you necessarily compete against, but what makes you different from those people that may be offering offshore services as well?
You're right. We don't have many people doing what we do in the local area. However, there are lots of businesses who are involved in a similar model, mostly at a much bigger scale. One type of competitor that we have are big freelance marketplaces, who seem to be similar to what we do. Their model seems to be similar to us in some ways, but it's quite different. But if I class them as a competitor, the way we're different is we're offering a same sort of service, but it's more personal. It's more bespoke towards our clients' needs, and they're dealing with a smaller business who actually understands how small businesses work, as opposed to dealing with a big corporation that is just a massive website or a marketplace like Upwork or Fiverr or something like that. Or there are companies out there who would do what we do at a much bigger scale for much bigger companies, but for small businesses, they won't be able to work with such bigger companies because their minimum requirements would be you need to have 400 members of staff from us or something like that. So these are the kind of guys who work with Vodafone and Three and all the big companies, and they have big offices in Pakistan, India, and all over the place. And they do what we do at a much bigger scale, but they're not available to small businesses.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So there may be people out there that think of using offshore services in countries like Pakistan, that people might be exploiting the workers over there, and also that the quality of work might not be there. So what would you say to people that might be concerned about that?
That's a really, really interesting question. So I have, since I started Recruitico, been very often asked, about the ethical aspect of it. particularly. So in some cases, not always, but in some cases, people are saying that, oh, so are these people going to be paid below minimum wage? And there's a very interesting answer to this question. So certain things are set up in certain contexts, right? And the example I try and use firstly for the whole ethical side of things is the minimum wage in Luxembourg is about £13 an hour, right? The minimum wage in the UK, I don't know, I think it's about £9 an hour right now, right? So if you actually got somebody from the UK to work at £10 an hour, and you got a company in Luxembourg to pay £12 an hour for their services, the person in the UK would be working above minimum wage, right? According to Luxembourg, they would be below minimum wage, right? And the company that's paying them will be saving money, and whoever set it up will be making a little bit of a profit. But is that exploitation in any way? Person here is getting more than they would get here. Company over there saves money. Whoever sets it up makes a profit. No, it sounds like a win-win-win situation for everyone. But it's about looking at it from the right perspective. If you actually look at it from the perspective of, if you compare things from how they are in the UK, you have to understand that it's a totally different context. And one thing that we do guarantee is that all our staff will be taken care of really well. That is only proven by the fact that we have currently we have 9 people working for us. And they're all highly motivated. They love what we do, and they do an excellent job. Now, they wouldn't do that if they were being exploited, right? So that's one thing. With regards to the quality of work, I can say that yes, it's a concern, but when you hire professionals anywhere, particularly for things which are internationally done, then if the recruitment process is right, and if you have the right tests and things in place, which we do, then then that's not a problem. And with the way we run things and with the offshore staffing model, there's an element of induction and training. So there's also an element of getting people with the right skill set, and then training them to do things in exactly the way that you want to do, which you can't get with if you outsource a contract to someone. So there are ways around it, and so far we've built systems and processes in place which allow people to train people and check what they're doing and monitor things to actually get things done to a really, really high standard.
I mean, I've certainly got the impression ever since I've known you that your model and the way that you recruit staff in Pakistan is to make sure that you're getting the right level of person. So I know you've got various ways of vetting people and checking them out and making sure they can do what they say on the tin. And also, it's always been your ambition, if that's the right word, to make sure that those people are looked after, that they're paid, above the normal rate they would get for what they're doing in Pakistan. And I think also, you look more at employee benefits, which might not exist in Pakistan like they do over here. So I think from that point of view, yeah, it's going to create a loyalty and a reason for people to stay and work for you.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Paul. And and that's something I've learned working with businesses here. So I was telling you about my whole journey, and after I came here and graduated, I worked for a few years. I hadn't worked as such in Pakistan, but I was familiar with the work culture in Pakistan, which is okay, but it's different from here, and so I have tried to adapt some things that I've learned from here with regards to taking care of employees and making sure they're looked after, which I've seen working in this context, and I've tried to implement them in Pakistan, just like we've taken talent from Pakistan and we try and integrate them with businesses here. So it works both ways, and thank you for noticing that. It means a lot, actually.
No, absolutely not. I've always been quite inspired on one level in terms of the business you're trying to create. I think I said to you in the early days, I think it's got a lot of potential. And when you're up there earning your millions a year, hopefully remember us little ones that were part of your journey on the way there. So anyway, we're in the middle of, hopefully getting out of soon, lockdown 3.0 as we're recording this session. And that's obviously been a biggest challenge for most businesses over the last year. Outside of that, since you've been in business, what would you say is or are the biggest challenges that you found in running a small business?
I think there's two ways I can look at this. So one is the specific challenges that I've had running my business, and because of the nature of it, and then challenges that any business owner, the general challenges that small business owners have. So when it comes to specific challenges for Recruitico, the big one was it was a new thing for most people, right? It was a new concept for most people, particularly in the local areas. So, and I was a totally new person. They didn't know, and I was just came onto the, into the business community, attending events and meetings and things like that. So it was actually communicating what we do to people, and then building that trust. That we're here to stay. We're not just someone just trying something out and we'll disappear tomorrow. So building that trust, not just that trust, but also communicating to them exactly what it is that we can offer them, because it's different from, say, if you're a marketing agency or an accountant or a solicitor, you just say, this is what I do, and people automatically get what you do. But when you say, we provide offshore remote staff, people don't exactly get what exactly it is, and then you have to kind of explain to them that it's a bit like having people in house, but instead they're based overseas, and then we set up systems and processes so you can work with them directly, and you can, etc., etc. So that's been a challenge, but that's an ongoing challenge. So that was a very specific challenge for my business. The other angle to look at it is, generally what challenges you have. And I think a lot of small businesses, and I've learned this through a bit of trial and error myself, and I'm sure you will agree with this. A lot of small businesses start and they think they can do pretty much anything for anyone, and they don't know exactly where their target market is, and finding that focus in that target market is not easy. It takes time. What seems like a good idea today may not be what you want to do tomorrow.
Yeah.
You really have to align your objectives and your core competencies with things that you want to do, and come up with things that you want to focus on. I think we're still doing that. It's an ongoing process. It never stops. But I think just realizing that is a bit of a challenge, and especially in the early days. Um, uh, Many businesses, especially if they're quite ambitious and they think, yeah, we can do that, we can do that, we can do that as well. And then what they don't realize is that they start dividing they have very limited resources, and they start dividing their resources and their attention, and they will end up not doing all those things very well. So they should really focus on a few core things that they do really well, and take it from there then.
And in the current pandemic, now everybody is a lot more used to remote workers generally. Has that created opportunities for you, or do people now understand more what you've got to offer, and the fact they could have someone working for them remotely in another country, because now they're presumably putting things in place so they can manage remote workers anyway?
It certainly has. It certainly has, and people have realized it's certainly a lot easier to explain, what we do to people now that the whole concept of working remotely is so common. So it certainly has. Definitely, and we've had lots of discussions since March, April last year. Now with existing clients and with potential clients who we'd spoken to previously, they weren't quite sure about stuff, and they've just suddenly come back to us and said, "Yeah, we've actually realized we can do this, 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 and this." And the conversation we had last year just makes so much sense now. So can we? So it has made a difference. It has made a difference. Yes.
Okay, excellent. Glad to hear that. So you've kindly agreed to impart some of your knowledge and experience as a little solo now. So I'm just going to hand over the floor to you, as it were, and see you in about 3 or 4 minutes' time.
Right. Thank you, Paul. Okay, this is going to be interesting. Now, I'll try and share some knowledge that I've gathered on the way, and there's no right or wrong way of doing this stuff. But what I'm saying might be might be useful. It's just food for thought, if anything else. So when you're talking about outsourcing, just outsourcing, not essentially offshore outsourcing. Um, the first thing is to understand what it really is. And a lot of businesses actually outsource, and they don't really know that they're outsourcing. So, for example, if you're a business and you have an accountant, then your accounting and taxation is outsourced. If you've got a web design agency who's built and who manages your website, then your web side of things is outsourced. If there's a cleaner who comes to clean your office, then your cleaning's outsourced, right? So a lot of businesses outsource stuff. Now, when you look at outsourcing in a more strategic way and in a more integrated way that can add value to your organization, um, I'd recommend a certain way of looking at it and a certain way of figuring out what things you would want to outsource. Um, and I'd recommend starting by mapping all of your core processes. And when I say map all your core processes, what I mean is um, write down exactly what you do in different parts of your organization. So map or document your marketing process, document your sales process, document your operations processes, and customer services processes. Once you've documented all of your processes, then look at each aspect of them from a time, cost, and quality perspective, right? And when we talk about time, cost, and quality, really look at each element of your process and see how long it takes you to do that thing, and not just how long it takes you, but is that the best use of your time, or would you rather be doing something else that's more valuable to your business from time perspective? Again, similarly from a cost perspective, what is it actually costing you to do something like that? So if you're a director of a of a business and your time is valuable and you're maybe generating invoices or responding to emails for basic customer service requirements, then is that the best is the cost of the time of your organization, is that the best return that you're getting for it, or would you rather pay someone else to do it? And the third thing to look to view your different processes and different aspects of your processes is from a quality perspective. Are you the best person to do it, or would you rather have an expert come in and take care of that? This goes more for things like design and web development and accounting and things like that. So, and this is just general stuff. This is not related to the way we do. This is just um, stuff the way you should be thinking if you're looking at using outsourcing in a strategic way. So once you've mapped all your processes and looked at every aspect from a time, cost, quality perspective, and then if the answer to your to any of those questions is no, I shouldn't be doing this for any of the three reasons, either because my time isn't best spent doing this, or I can get someone else to do it at a lower cost or at higher quality. Then look at isolate those processes and then go out and seek somebody who can do those. And when you see people outside of your organization to do anything for your organization, that is essentially outsourcing. Those people could be based offshore. They could be based, in next to you in another office in the same building, or somebody else that you know. Um, So once you've highlighted the things that you want to outsource, then there are different models of outsourcing. I'll go over three key ones. One is called business process outsourcing, which is where you take a whole process out of your business and you just give it to somebody else, like bookkeeping or accounting or something like that. The second thing is project-based outsourcing. If there's a big chunk of work that you need doing, but you don't want to do it in-house, you take it and you give it to somebody else. And the third part is more of somewhere in between, something which is ongoing, a part of your business process, but not totally a business process. And for stuff like that, you can usually get VAs, to help you out, or you can get freelancers. And if that is of a certain volume, then you can get somebody like us to give you a member of our team who will work as your team and do certain bits and pieces for you. So that's all I'd like to share about how to go about making the decision to outsource things in a bit more strategic way.
Okay, thank you very much, Dawar. Very sound advice there. I appreciate that. Thank you for that. Final question I ask people on these calls: if you were to give one top business tip for any business owner out there, what would that top tip be?
Oh gosh, I actually didn't think of this one when I was going through. I think the top tip would be to being a business owner is tough, right? And there are ups and downs, and there are times where you feel a bit insecure, and you can feel stressed out about things. The advice would be to just keep at it, keep going, and eventually things do work out. So stay motivated, and just keep focusing on things that you do best. And if you've made the decision to start your own business, then stick to it, and eventually it'll work out.
I think that's particularly good advice in the current climate. I don't think any of us thought that lockdowns would last this long, and we'd be a year down the line and still in this situation. So I think trying to see the light at the end of the tunnel and be positive and stay motivated has been a challenge for most. So no, good advice. So thanks for coming along today. Thanks for your time. Thanks for sharing some of your insights into outsourcing and your business journey. I'll end the broadcast there. Thank you very much, Dawar.
Well, thanks again for having me. It's very nice being on.